I praise in the valley, praise on the mountain. Okay. I praise when I'm sore, I praise when I'm down. My enemies bowing. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise the Lord, oh my soul.
Worship is something that I've experienced over this entirety of the trip.
Worship is just giving glory back to God, right? You can't give God glory because God has all the glory, but it's glorifying God through like yourself and your actions and whatever you're doing.
Just telling God you love Him. You know, you can pray, you can sing, just tell God you love Him.
It is when people coming together and just lifting up what God is doing in their lives and worshiping Him, or even something as simple as like worship in terms of worship songs. And like what we've done on an entirety of this trip is coming together and worshiping. And like we're constantly singing and talking about what God has done in our lives, talking about what God is doing in the kids' lives, talking about what God is doing back at home, around us, like everywhere. And for me, that's worship because it's us lifting up God and lifting up the things that He is doing in our lives and the people around us.
Everybody here has bore the image of Christ to these kids, and they have just been great examples for these kids. For us to be able to just show them like what the love of Christ looks like is worship, because that is glorifying God.
So not only did I actually worship, whether it was like on the bus or in the classroom, but I think what I did was worship in terms of I did God's work by hanging out with His children and teaching them something as simple as English. Like, I think that alone is worship.
Nora said that her favorite part of Freedom was the presence of God, and that just really inspired me to like go and just like sit in His presence like by myself. So last night, before all of the chaos started, I just went out to the pergola. I was able to kind of reorient myself, go out and just spend time with Him and refocus on what I needed to do, which was to bear the image of Christ.
For a lot of people see God in different ways. And this week, I've been able to see God's goodness through people. Whether it was people on the team, people in leadership here, or the students here, I've gotten to see God work in their lives and in our interactions with each other. And I think that has led me to want to worship Him even more than I already have.
He places us everywhere we are, right? Every person on this team was placed here. Every missionary was placed here, of course. So there's a purpose in us being here, and whether or not we know what the purpose is, we should try to pursue what the Lord has for us. Making it your mission to glorify Him is important because everywhere you are, God has placed you there.
Everything is made possible by God, so nothing is without Him. So it's important to thank Him whenever He gives us anything and remember that it's through Him that we have our blessings.
A lot of the time I take for granted God's goodness and how He's working in people's lives. And when I'm here in the Dominican at Freedom, I can clearly see everything that God is doing in these students' lives, and it makes me want to worship Him 10 times more than I already do.